Oleksandr Usyk might eat heavyweight punches for a living, but he is also one of the richest boxers alive with a crazy expensive portfolio. From $200,000 custom cars to million-dollar homes around the world, these are stupidly expensive things Oleksandr Usyk owns. Before you go around thinking you could ever become a heavyweight boxer, you need to see some of the punches fighters like Usyk and Tyson Fury eat for breakfast. These are the types of hits that could send you to the ER in your first match. That's why nobody bats an eye when they walk away with multi-millions for each fight. In Usyk's last fight with Tyson Fury, Fury walked away with over $80 million. And with that kind of money, Fury went on a lavish spending spree. For most of us, a spending spree would mean trips to fancy restaurants or buying a few expensive clothes. But to Fury, it means a whole different thing. Tyson Fury's idea of a spending spree is more like garages filled with $250,000 Ferraris and a new $3 million private jet. While Oleksandr Usyk might not be as flashy as Tyson Fury, he loves to spend his money supporting others, even though it might get him killed. After Russia invaded his home country of Ukraine, Oleksandr Usyk stayed back with thousands of men to fight for their country. It wasn't just a regular fight, because the Russian military threw everything they had at them, and things looked really bad at times. As if that wasn't enough, Usyk had to resort to threatening Vladimir Putin to get him to back off from his country. Putin is a dangerous man with an army of mercenaries at his disposal, but Usyk didn't let that stop him from giving Putin a piece of his mind. That's as cold as it gets. Even though his plan to get Putin to back off didn't work, it didn't stop Usyk from donating over $5 million to displaced Ukrainians through his foundation. The war with Russia really did a number on the Ukrainian people, and as they looked for someone to look up to, Oleksandr Usyk was always there for his people. If he wasn't donating to help people get to safety, he was joining the army to protect his country. He also set up a foundation that provides shelter to the less privileged and gets poor kids into boxing camps. That's the kind of goodwill that gets one on Santa's good list. Usyk definitely won the hearts and minds of his people, and that is something you learn by subscribing to the channel. So what are you waiting for? With feats like that, you might think Usyk is a monk who doesn't spend his money on material things. But don't let that fool you. The cat knows how to flex when he wants to. One of the few times he showed the world what it's like to earn millions per fight happened after his first match against Tyson Fury. Being eternal rivals, watchmaker Jacob & Co. made a one-of-a-kind luxury watch to mark the occasion, and the watch blew everyone away. You might think you know what a luxury watch looks like, but this watch knocks it out of the park. It even features tiny mannequins of Fury and Usyk in the watch, so you know a lot of time and effort went into designing the piece. Seeing how it was commissioned by someone from the Saudi Arabian royal family, only 4 were ever made, and Oleksandr Usyk is one of the 4 in the world to own the luxury watch. Getting Jacob & Co. to even agree on a custom watch is a feat only billionaires could make, so its $650,000 price tag shouldn't be all that shocking. One of the 4 pairs eventually ended up being put up for auction, and it could easily fetch over $1 million. That's the kind of luxury everyone expects from Oleksandr Usyk, but he only pulls out the big guns when it's time to make a statement. For everyday use, Usyk likes to go a little bit cheaper, like the time he got caught wearing a $40,000 white gold Rolex Submariner. This was at the Anthony Joshua vs. Daniel Dubois fight, where he outgunned Conor McGregor in a battle of luxury watches. Conor was rocking a $24,000 Patek, which might be the cheapest watch in his collection. Anyone who knows a thing or two about Conor McGregor knows that it's no small feat to outflex the Irishman, who loves flaunting $350,000 Lamborghinis and the most expensive apartments you have ever seen. The Submariner isn't the only Rolex in Usyk's collection, because the Ukrainian is also a fan of the Daytona Rainbow. Unlike the Submariner, the Daytona goes for $500,000, and Usyk rarely pulls it out because he doesn't believe in showing off. This was just the tip of the iceberg for Oleksandr Usyk, who also has a thing for supercars, even though he does his best to hide it. These days, Usyk drives around in some of the finest cars ever made, and it's all thanks to his undisputed record. But before the fame, the story of his first supercar is as tragic as it can get. After years of hard work, Usyk was finally on the world stage at the 2012 London Olympics, and his opponent didn't stand a chance. Once he had the gold medal, Usyk was also given an $80,000 Volvo XC90 as his first ever luxury car, and tried to rush home to show his parents, but tragedy struck. His ill father couldn't hang on much longer, and Oleksandr Usyk never got to show his father his first cool car. Despite being the gold medalist, Usyk couldn't enjoy his victory because of his tragic loss, but he learned to accept it, and as he won more fights, the cars kept rolling in. After getting the Volvo, Usyk would go on to get other luxury cars like a $160,000 BMW M8 Grand Coupe, a $120,000 Mercedes AMG, a $150,000 Mercedes-Benz G-Class, and a $68,000 Smart Fortwo Smart Car. These cars are great and all, but they don't even come close to Usyk's best car, and that's because it was made from the ground up for the undisputed champion. Most times, when celebrities want to get the latest cars, they head over to the dealership to get the process started. But with Oleksandr Usyk, the car came to him. A custom car shop in Ukraine wanted to do something special for Usyk, so they just rebuilt an Audi RS Q8 for the heavyweight boxer, and it's not like your average RS Q8. Now that is one beautiful car. They took a plain-looking Audi RS Q8 and tore it down to its bones for a redesign using carbon fiber parts. To show their appreciation for everything Oleksandr Usyk had done for the country, they even created a cat logo and etched it in different parts of the car. All the time they spent adding more carbon fiber parts and upgrading the interior decor ended up making the car look like it was a completely different car made just for Usyk. A regular Audi RS Q8 would set you back $130,000, but once they were done upgrading everything in Usyk's Audi, that car easily crosses the $250,000 mark. It's easy to see why Oleksandr Usyk has a connection to this car, but if there is one thing he loves more, it's his home. When you are as rich as Usyk, you tend to accumulate a few homes as your bag gets heavier, but you never forget your first. Being a simple guy, Usyk opted for a modest family house in Vorzel, Ukraine that met all his needs. The home includes stuff like an indoor gym, a pool, and a patio, while the Gypsy King flexes off with $2.3 million homes in England. Usyk made do with his $800,000 home in Ukraine. Just when he thought he had everything he would ever need, the Russians invaded his country, and Oleksandr Usyk was forced to leave his home behind. Despite being forced out of his home, Usyk never left the country and joined the makeshift military to protect his home. But soon enough, he had an upcoming fight with Anthony Joshua and needed intense training if he was ever going to keep his undefeated record. To do this, Oleksandr Usyk headed to Marbella, Spain, where he bought a $1.5 million villa to be his base of operations away from home. Since this new location was all about getting Usyk fit for upcoming fights, it's fitted with the craziest equipment you've ever seen. From regular boxing equipment to highly specialized machines you can't find anywhere. We don't know what heaven looks like to gym bros, but if we are not mistaken, it should look something like this. Anytime Usyk makes an appearance at the Marbella mansion, you know it's all about intense exercises and getting ready for his next opponent. This is why he is surrounded by some of the best trainers around, and this is where Usyk invests most of his money. His gear and the people surrounding him have to be the best of the best, so you shouldn't be surprised that Usyk pays out almost $3 million in payments each year to keep his crew to keep him in top shape. And it doesn't just end there. Oleksandr Usyk had his team work on an app called Ready to Fight that makes it possible to connect with boxers from all over the world. Think of it like Facebook for boxers, and Usyk uses it to get sparring partners anywhere in the world. While training for the Anthony Joshua fight, Usyk had up to 40 sparring partners ready to jump in the ring, and it was all thanks to the app created by the boxing icon. That kind of convenience isn't easy to get. which is why the $200,000 he paid to get the app up and running feels like chump change considering how useful it is.